Joe Askren with drjoebrews.com going to bring you a three-part series of our USF student beer recipe project with Ulee Springs Brewery. Head brewer Tim Shakan helped coordinate this entire brewing project. Not only was there a brew day session, but students in our program also got to harvest the Florida guava at Blackbeard Ranch the following week, which was added back in during fermentation. The beer came out fantastic and was served up on tap at Ulele, so let's get right into it. Check out more hands-on industry sessions on my YouTube page and drjoebrews.com. Also search USF Brewing Arts to find out more about our certificate program. Go Bulls!
I told all the other guys, Chris and Sean, and I'm like, this is the simplest of recipes.
Yeah, it is.
I'm like, I don't care. You get under the hood when you talk in the modules and you're talking to Adam and all those guys.
All right, we got Adam Stack here from Yuengling. He teaches Module 7 in our Brewing Arts program. We have Tim Shakan here from Ulee Springs Brewery. And man, this is quite the event, guys, right? And it started with, Adam, it's your fault.
It's my fault.
So Adam has the students come up with the beer style. He sort of, helps them throughout the 2-week process, and then that recipe is brought to a brewery, and we're lucky enough to be here at Ulele making it with Tim Shakan. And Tim, you've taken it to another level. Not only are we making the beer, but we're also maybe going to do some guava picking. We'll do a final tasting, and so Tim invited the world here. We have several breweries, other brewers here that were here. We have UF from hop research, and we're using their hops. We're using some other grain.
Yep.
Can you guys just talk a little bit about, maybe Adam, you can start talking about how the process starts in class, and then we can get into. I love to have maybe Tim just say a few words on the actual ingredients we're using that are all Florida.
Sure.
Yeah, the process in class is recipe formulation. We basically just learned the math behind how you formulate a recipe, from your brewhouse efficiency, your utilization of your hops, and all those calculations that let you back calculate into actually making a recipe with pounds of grain, pounds of hops, all those things. So how you balance your water in every stage of the process. We go through pretty much every step of recipe and brewhouse calculations. And then in each one of those classes, I come up with a style that I have the kids write a recipe for. And very nice of Tim to host us this year. And it's
Thank you.
It's an opportunity being a great brewery in a great location around the water.
I know, right?
Doors open, breeze coming in. I mean, it's August, but it still feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, I could lead off by saying how thankful I am and humbled by Yuengling, and you guys got such a great operation, and of course Ulele's a little different. We have this beautiful little beer palace, and it's attached to this wonderful restaurant, and we have all these people on the Riverwalk coming. What are we doing today? Well, first of all, Adam has done the heavy lifting, right? I'm just a brew pub brewer. I'm kind of a schmuck. I know how to talk to people. I can mix and mash your grain, right? The truth of the matter is the heavy duty educational part of the process happens in the module classroom environment with Adam and with Joe. When they come to me, it's not necessarily getting under the hood with water requirements, propagation of yeast and all that stuff. It becomes a very basic scenario here, because remember, we're talking about, for the most part, students that are trying to enter the workforce, right? They might not have ever worked in a brewery like the one you see behind us. And it's sometimes when you come to Ulele for an operation like this, it's important to talk about the basics and the fundamentals of brewing. So how to carry a hose, how to handle a triclover clamp, when to make sure that you turn a pump on or off, if a tank's pressurized or not, understanding what pipe goes to where, how to adjust the flow valve. What you know what the basics are. It's kind of a little bit of a field exercise. And the good thing about what's happening right now, after receiving this wonderful recipe, the Raisin Bay
You've
guava.
also added your creative touch to it.
Yeah. Well, I tell you,
Florida grown ingredients.
the idea behind Ulele is to not only do what we can to promote the industry with students through the USF Craft Brewing Studies program, but also to exploit as much as we can from the state of Florida. So for the first time, However, really, these last few years, we have fresh from Florida grain. We have fresh from Florida hops, fresh from Florida honey, Mayaka wildflower honey. We're going to go to Blackbeard's Ranch later in the next few weeks. Instead of going to a store and buying the guava off of a shelf that's in a paste that's been processed, we take the interns out on a field trip. They go out to the middle of a pasture in the center of the most beautiful country in the world, Central Florida, and they get to pick that guava by hand. Right? This guava is much different. It's loaded with seeds, it's loaded with flavor, the aromatics are explosive, right? So I'm super excited about incorporating all those things and how to incorporate that into a tap room scenario where you have hundreds of people a day coming in to taste your beer. That's when the pressure point comes, because it's not only is it important to teach you to be a good brewer, you have to be a good business person. You have to make it work. And a lot of that has to do with creating the right environment for people to come enjoy your product and celebrate it. And that's what we're going to do a few weeks from now.
Awesome. And fantastic, guys. It's exciting. And again, we're in the middle of the brewing process now. Thanks for having us, Tim.
Thank you.
And thanks, Adam, for starting this, man. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Appreciate it,
for
sir.
having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate to be part of the group.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And there's a level of excitement that we can have when they walk in and they're going to see, oh my God, there's hundreds of people here. This is crazy. Yeah.
But you're right about when you walk into a brew house for the first time, just understand the plumbing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what everything does. If you're going to cavitate a pump, or if, like you said, you got a pressurized tank, or
Yeah.
the safety of everything is very, very important to teach them first
And
off.
I mean, I remember the first time I ever walked into a craft
I
brewery.
do too.
Lady,
Yeah, there we go.
So,
interns, come
Right
on
behind you,
over.
sorry.
Get close to me here. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to get your hands dirty these next few minutes. It might actually involve work. And how many times have interns come in, or people come in, they express an interest in the brewing process, and then I give them the old Jack Nicholson treatment, right? I'm like, you want to come in? Come on in. It's 100 degrees in here. You're going to take time to shovel all this grain out. You're going to work in a hot brewery environment. It's actual labor. But let me tell you something, as the years go by, that's going to give you a certain measure of authenticity in your life to know that you come in and you got to do the work, man. You're doing the hard work, just like a char grill chef flipping 100 steaks a day. There's labor involved. It keeps you closer to God. It keeps you closer to the process. That's what I love about it. What we're doing now, after 45-minute rest, all the starches have converted to sugars. We started our centrifugal pump. We're going to pump the wort from the bottom of the mash tun to the top of the mash tun. As we do that, there's this sight glass right here, you'll see the flow rate. We're not automated like a lot of other breweries. We adjust our flow rates by hand. It's important to understand what type of beer you're making. You could go ahead, Tom. You can understand that you want that flow rate to start relatively slow. If you go too fast, what happens? Can anybody tell me what happens if you go too fast?
You're getting vortexes, pressure.
Good. A vacuum, it packs the grain too much. It prevents you from extracting all that you can extract out of the mash. How do you tell if your mash has been impacted like that in an environment like this?
Cloudiness. You don't see
Partially.
water on top.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can see, you can tell. Go ahead, Tom. You go ahead, sir, please. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
I was not facing you.
Come on, Tom. I'm gonna bring the visual aid.
Yeah. So one of the ways you can tell is if you adjust the flow rate, you'll know how far the valve goes before you see it flowing. And if successive brews, if you find that you have to open the valve more and more, that's a signal. You can also walk up the stairwell and take your mash paddle and gently touch the top of the mash. If it feels like it's too packed, you're gonna know. If you start a sparge and you're running wort from the mash tun to the brew kettle, and it's just taking forever, right? How do you prevent that from happening? It starts with recirculation, but there's other things too. What if you add a lot of wheat into your grain billing? You're making a Hefeweizen. It's 50% wheat, it's 50% grain. You guys should know this. Inert media, rice hulls, empty flavorless rice hulls, right? Because the wheat is a huskless grain. Stan can tell you, right? If you have all those proteins on a huskless grain, it sticks. Almost like if you had a dough ball and you just left it out on a counter for 20 minutes. Or, hey, how about this? A fresh batch of oatmeal, right? And you're stirring it. Yeah, this is great. You put it on the kitchen counter, you go feed the dogs, and you come back 15 minutes later, and you could literally stick a spoon in it. That's what wheat can do. So you have to remember how to, when you're formulating a recipe, you have to incorporate that. You do not want to stuck mash in a commercial brewing environment. It's absolute misery. By misery, I mean like Misery the movie. You're taking a hammer to your feet as you're lying in the bed. It's an arduous task to relieve yourself of the burden of a stuck mash. Can anybody tell me how you fix a stuck mash? Well, that's one. Maybe one of our other, I don't know. Hey, Tom, what do you think? How do you fix a stuck mash?
Painfully.
Yes, lots of stirring.
You want to avoid it as much as possible, but what I'm going to try and do is just reset the entire mash.
Yeah.
Try to reincorporate the water, try to get it unstuck from the bed, maybe even stop the entire transfer from coming over so you can get everything the way it was when the mash started, and go back to where you started from the top. Recirculate again as long as until it comes clear, and hope that it doesn't happen again. If it does happen again, you may want to relook at your recipe, maybe something a little wrong on that end, but there is a water piping system that goes from the hot liquor tank or actually from the water main to the base of the mash tun. And in desperate situations, you can run water through that and kind of just punch it really fast, try to push that grain up off of the grain bed so that you can do the same thing that I just said. Start again with the recirculation and kind of try and get that to go over as clearly as possible.
Great answer, sir. And what is the one thing more important than all is to have a good plan and to execute it right. If you know you have what it takes to prevent that, and you're stirring the mash constantly when you're mixing it, or if you have a hydraulic mixer, you're just observing it, right? The mash process is important. In scale, it's a lot like a home brew, but remember, it's a much broader surface area. You need to check for dough balls, right? If you're stirring the mash and you see a lot of dough balls, that's bad too, because that's dried grain. You want to get that mixed in with water because you want starch to sugar conversion. You want a good yield. So, but that's what's happening now for the next 10 or 15 minutes. If we're making a lager, we want that wort to be as clear as possible. If we're making a Hefeweizen, it's less worrisome about the proteins in the haze because the beer's gonna be hazy. But it's important not to have all those grain husks go into the kettle, because once the grain husks and that inert media goes into the kettle and it starts to boil, then you start getting off flavors that you don't want, right? So, anybody have any questions? All right, we'll run this for a little while. We'll come back. You want to add anything? Yes, if you guys want to get with Tom.
Even in here, you can see
How you been?
I've still got stuff going.
Yeah.
Always want to inspect your gaskets as well. This one's about on its last leg. You can even pass it around if you want to take a look, but there's little nicks in it. It's very not good. It's a breeding ground for any kind of bacteria,
especially now.
Any remnants
from
from the last one.
Because I tell you what, you get to where you're crawling up into your
I'm going to be poking him here pretty soon to buy a new one.
Yeah, it
That should be pretty good. So we use PBW here. A lot of different breweries are going to use different forms of chemicals, liquid, caustic, things like that. Tim has found that just PBW and Sanitation has done him good for years. He's not trying to go super fancy.
It's a long road
to
to
level up
recovery.
beyond that. So this is what we're using, you know.
Good.
But with no physical debris visible on here or on the manway, I'm going to drop this back on. And then we're going to fit this back in here. Doesn't have to be too watertight. This is probably still going to leak a little bit. So one thing, especially on the caustic, you need to have ventilation. If you have a sealed container and you display the hot, so the water is 175 when it went in, especially if this tank is freshly cold, it's at 32 degrees because you had the cold beer crashed in there. You put that water in, all that air inside is cold. You display that, heats the air up, expands that gas, and that's where you have real problems. Most of our tanks will have a pressure release valve and a frangible disc up top here. I can probably show a closer up version. On the left side is going to be the pressure release valve. It's just a spring set to a certain PSI. Once it surpasses that PSI, it'll depress the spring and release that gas, venting that and preventing any like possible explosions, very dangerous situations. In case of that fails, we have the frangible disc, similar situation, set to a PSI, and that disc is just a very thin piece of metal that will rupture and then vent off that gas before anything catastrophic happens. Oh yeah, but it should never get to that point realistically. So, especially when you're adding hot liquid to cold containers, you want to make sure that you have things open. So on here, I've got multiple points for the gas to vent. I've got this other arm here, and I've got these 3 ports here. So what?
The other things while you're discussing with them,
Yeah.
you kind of covered it, but talk a little bit about. I see this vessel is different than the manway is different than some of these things. Most companies, when they manufacture, obviously consider sanitation, but there will be times where you may see someone that fabricates a manway or some of those fittings where you've got areas that are kind of like it's like a shelf inside.
Yeah.
So when you CIP, if you don't get good coverage, you'll get what we call like shadowing. So you may have some debris or some places that you may have to like clean by hand, like he was saying, get near with a rag.
Yep.
Just something to be noted of. Sometimes they'll weld in a frame around your manway that actually protrudes into the vessel itself.
Yeah.
So on the bottom, there's actually overhang.
I can actually show you.
I don't know if that one has it.
It does actually. So there you can see this lip in here. Probably avoid touching it because I probably spilled a little caustic on there, but these JV Northwest tanks are awesome. They don't have that.
Yeah.
It's just
It's flush inside. Perfect.
flush steel, but the recessed manway is really nice as well. As the pressure builds in the tank, it's going to help seal that. You don't have to crank it like the submarine's going down.
And sometimes, like I said, you'll see that, but he didn't show you there, but in reverse, it'll actually protrude into the vessel. And there will be a shelf that you reach to the bottom of the door, you can reach underneath that shelf.
That's right, and where you brush
You
it.
want to brush right that out too. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do a double check, make sure that I am hooked up to the tank that I think I'm cleaning. Because if this was to be on this one, then you're going to put caustic onto finished beer. Nobody wants that.
And suck the tank.
Yes, yeah, explode the tank. It's really bad. So yeah, just a double check on the hoses, make sure I'm going where I think I'm going. Tim has probably said it before, we'll probably say it 5 more times today. Open valves open, closed valves closed. Make sure you know what you're doing before you do it, before you open a valve, before you turn a pump on. You know what is actually going to happen, and it's always good to double check, especially in like the learning stages. You should have seen me. It took me 12 hours to do my first brew because I was methodically double checking everything.
Your gaskets are in place and tight, especially when you got chemical that's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
spray on you.
Exactly.
I would say
What I have seen is like the threads degrading on the actual manway. So like on here, you can see that this is like kind of lubricated right now. I've gotten to the point where I am cranking this 110%. I'm pulling the biggest guy off the line in the kitchen, being like, okay, both of us, let's do it. And it's still not working. and I've had to do that. I've had to transfer off to another tank, pull the whole thing out, and lubricate it. We have to replace one of our manways now because it got warped out of shape. I mean, it's
That was my guess that it could be warped, right? Like,